Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another webinar of the Future Classroom Lab entitled Immersive Learning, Transforming Education, Engaging Students in the Digital Age. This is a follow-up to a webinar on the same topic and with the same partners that we did earlier in March that had some technical difficulties. We are not spared from such issues, apparently, even at the Future Classroom Lab. And so this is a follow-up, and we hope that with this recording, you can benefit from the materials and the insight that my colleagues will present in just about a minute. But before we begin, just a brief word. My name is Eugenia Casariego, and I work for European Schoolnet. I'm very glad to be here, have a chance to record this webinar and to dig deeper into the topics that we already started discussing in March. European Schoolnet, for those of you who don't know, is a network which is a network of ministries, member ministries of education, 34 of them, which mission is to inspire and support these ministries, but also schools, teachers, and relevant education stakeholders in Europe to transform educational processes. We do this by identifying and testing promising innovative practices, sharing evidence about their impact, and also supporting the mainstreaming of teaching and learning practices that are aligned with the 21st century skills. So today's topic is therefore incredibly relevant to this mission and to this endeavor that we have. The Future Classroom Lab that I mentioned earlier on is part of this ecosystem. It's part of our work at European Schoolnet. It's an ecosystem, but I also like to think of it as also a digital space, since we are online as well, and that aims to bring inspiration and that aims to create an inspirational environment for policymakers, experts, teachers, the school, etc. And we organize several events in Brussels, but also we organize online webinars such as these ones. So I encourage you that after you watch this recording, if you're interested on the topics, if you're interested in this type of session, that you follow us on social media to be aware of the latest news that we have, the latest webinars that we'll keep on promoting and organizing as a part of this ecosystem, this Future Classroom Lab. I would like to introduce today's webinar's presenters and partners. So today's webinar is organized in collaboration with Epson, which is one of the partners at the Future Classroom Lab. Today we will discuss immersive education and the role that technology can play in boosting innovation in the classroom. And also we're going to discuss a very hot topic these days, which is artificial intelligence, AI, and we're going to get some hands-on practices into how we can use AI to boost our teaching practice. So let me introduce to you our two speakers for today. I have with me Sarah Henkelmann-Hillebrand, from Market Development Manager for Europe at Epson, and we have with us as well Sampo Forstom, Lecturer, Project Manager and Educational Development at the University of Eastern Finland, teacher training in the schools, and also one of our Future Classroom Lab ambassadors for a number of years now. So thank you very much, Sarah, Sampo, for being with us today this afternoon and for also following up on the earlier webinar. I'm incredibly excited to hear again and to continue discussing this topic of immersive learning and how we can use this innovative technology to boost teaching practices. And I'm sure that our audience is as well incredibly excited as well to hear more. So without further ado, I would like to pass you the floor, Sarah. And so, yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us. Today's topic, immersive learning, transforming education and engaging students in the digital age. A very important topic today, and we know a lot of people are interested to hear more about this topic. So again, as usual, we have to start with definitions, right? If we talk about immersive learning, the big question is, what is it? So it will follow with examples. I think this is this will be pretty informative for you. We will talk about the benefits, solutions, and the future of learning and how can we transform education. And Sampo created some really nice resources that will be shared after the presentation. So if we talk about the next level, we have to talk about the trends in EdTech. So what are the education technology trends we can figure? So on the right-hand side, you see, I would say the 5 main big topics as trends. And one of them is for sure gamification and immersive learning, which is the topic for today's webinar. We are totally sure the coming age of data processing and skill acquisition will be spatial, and in a few minutes, I will tell you why. So if you think about immersive learning, a lot of people think about glasses, right? And this is not surprising. We know we have those glasses for many years in the market, and some of them are sold in education. We can see that worldwide, but it's not that it's not that popular or famous tools, what we can see right now. And I think it's because a lot of people are isolated, students are isolated, and there are a few other options to be more acting like a group and to collaborate. So we think it's important to talk about the glasses as well. You know, the virtual reality, you know, simulations and augmented reality. But today we really want to talk about the immersive, physical immersive learning atmosphere, and why this will be more than a trend, and why the skill acquisition will be spatial is really because of the new age of computing. So if we look back a little bit on the timeline, we started in the early 50s. With the mainframe computing. We had in the early 80s the personal computing devices, right? A lot of people know from the past in their own houses, the IBM machines standing around, and it was like a holy cow, right? No kids had to touch it. Even I was not able to touch it. But those were the days when we had the first personal computing hit households, right? That was really the starting point. And then with Steve Jobs at Apple, we had in the let's say 25 years ago, it started the mobile computing with the first iPhones and then iPads. But to be honest, it's not stopping there. So if we look into the age of computing now, we are talking about spatial computing. We are talking about immersive computing. And this is truly the situation, for this for today's webinar. So I promised to talk about the definition. And in 2003, the MIT started to write articles about immersive learning. So let's say more than 20 years back, right? They started with this new computing age. And what does it describe? It's an educational environment. It's designed to engage learners in an interactive and immersive setting, meaning an environment that is absorbing, involving, and captivating. And Sampo and I will make sure today you get examples what this exactly means. And immersive learning means there is always a realistic or interactive environment. And this immersive learning fosters critical thinking, problem solving, and it has always an active participation part in it. And we will see that in our examples as well. It supports competency building through independent actions. It supports experimentation, deep engagement, which is super important for today's learners, and it enables students to retain knowledge more effectively. And we can see that in the first evaluations, which is really surprising in a very positive way, and compared to traditional methods. It's inspiring. It's really a concept that is truly the future. Yeah. And I think now it's time for the first example. And we have an example here from Italy. And Sampo, I hand over to you.
So thank you, Sarah, for the nice introduction to the theme. As you can see in the example from Italy, there is space that makes learning very engaging because you're able to experience, whatever the digital world can provide for you. And next we'll have a look at some of the, let's say, educational aspects of, immersive learning and the, let's say, difficulties that we're facing in the schools of today. Is how do we get the learners to engage? How do we get them to get the relevance of their learning and what the things they are doing in school? So with the help of technology, and not also technology, so we can provide immersive experiences with technology, but we can also use hands-on activities as well. But if we think of what kind of learning we would like to see and possibilize in the schools of tomorrow, I guess the holistic approach is something that many of us agree upon, that it is important that the learning is, let's say, more, or the goals of the learning are in line with, let's say, if you look at the data on this screen, the deep learning and also phenomena-based learning, where you have the creation, you have the understanding, you have the creation and innovation parts. So what are the things that, or the elements of quality learning? It is that, okay, we create together, we form new things, we collaborate in an exciting way. So as Sarah mentioned, that the VR sets that we have, it's usually by yourself, and what we would like to see in the schools of tomorrow are immersive spaces where a whole classroom of students can learn together in a really exciting and meaningful way. So in Finland, we have an emphasis on the phenomenon-based learning, and of course, what brings quality to this is the authenticity, that it needs to be, I mentioned meaningful, but it has to have a meaning to the learners. And when that is taken care of, then we're able to do interesting things. And also the kind of collaboration that is possible within the school set. We come to the schools, we come to the classes or learning spaces, and usually we're not alone. So it is important that we emphasize the kind of collaboration skills and communication skills and such skills now with the vast development of AI, that we emphasize on what is meaningful to us humans. What are the human skills that we need to add or emphasize? So these are important things. If we think about the foundation of learning skills, that is not a theme that we can highlight enough. How do we learn? How much do we think about our learning? We should all stop and think of, how I am as a learner. How do I, and what are the things that help me in learning? And as teachers, we have to educate the learners to take this into consideration. The metacognitive skills and such are of great value in the future. And of course, if we can make the attitudes of the learners towards, being eager to learn, being enthusiastic, opening their eyes to new things, then we as educators are doing quite well. As mentioned, the learners should be in the, let's say, spotlight of the learning process. So they should always have an active role in what they are doing. We have the possibilities with a lot of technologies and of course learning spaces and working outside of the schools. We have the museums, we have the forests. Those are all places where we can immerse in our learning facilities. But if we want to explore the moon, it's easier for us to bring the moon with technology than reserving a trip, which might be a bit of a challenge. And also the kind of learner-centered environment where the students are actively involved and maybe having a say on how they work and, at some point, and at some, what are the contents as well. We know that the power of peer interaction is really important. So if we are able to structure events that possibilize this, that's something we should do. Bringing a sense of community and belonging. Yesterday, we had a digital fair at our school where second graders were teaching our student teachers and their parents. We had 7 different workshops on technology, ThinkLink being one of them. So when you have the kind of, peer interaction, but also the making it meaningful in such a way, technology that you're able to share your experiences. And these were like 8 to 9-year-old kids who were teaching us adults. So that was a really nice example of kind of together learning. We live in a very, let's say, environment with a lot of different visual and audio coming to us all the time, and the timing of this is quite, it's quite hectic. So one thing we should also look upon is the kind of focus and well-being and the cultivation of that, and so the mindful learning. How do we manage our stress? Can we create a more supportive atmosphere? In many countries, teachers are having issues with their well-being, and this is something that we also have to emphasize to the teachers of tomorrow, that we have to learn how to take care of ourselves as well. Well, these are a little bit of the themes that were already discussed. Of course, the kind of inclusiveness, that all learners have a place in, whether it be physical or digital world. And of course, the sense of belonging is really important to all of us, whether it be to us teachers on a European scale or the children of a certain classroom. We saw an example from Italy. Next, we will have a few examples of immersive classrooms from Finland. This first one is from the University of Jyväskylä Teacher Training School. It is an immersive classroom, and here you can see where we started. So quite a typical classroom with quite a lot of space, which was nice, and we transformed it into a nice immersive learning space. And let's have a look of what it looks like now. So with that example from Jyväskylä, in the space we have Epson projectors, we have Dolby Atmos sound. So if we want just it to be, let's say, an audio experience, we can provide that. But of course, with big pictures and coming from the 3 directions, we're able to reflect almost anything that is digitally doable. So if we think of, the landscape that we have, we know how different things affect us, colors, music, lights. So we're able to take that into the learning. And if we have a look at the results, so in this space we've done some research as well, and we'll look at the kind of research results a bit in a few slides after. But calming means instrumental, jazz, nature sounds, piano, kind of classical setup. Many of us use such kind of music inputs in our learning, and you can try different things and see what suits you. So in this picture, Mira is teaching a content, and she's sharing her teaching materials on the screen, and then the environment around the students is like a natural kind of environment. And research shows that even virtual environment helps us recover from cognitive stress faster than if we do not have elements of nature or even virtual nature among us. So calming landscapes for us Finns means forests, lakesides, and such. It would be interesting to hear about what would be your calming landscape. I guess for the Spaniards, if you're living on the coast, it might be the sound of waves coming slowly with the moon shining like behind you. And if that's a place where you can go, have a rest during your studies, why not do it? Because it's doable. In this space, we cooperate with some wearable sensor companies, so we're able to measure the kind of how the space and the inputs that we're able to provide affect us. So in this, we're using first beat wearable sensors, and if we have a look at the kind of what measurements show, it's that deep learning is like neurobiologically impossible without emotion. And if we hear it, see it, taste it, feel it, then it gives a possibility for that kind of deep learning that we should all be looking for as educators. So looking at the results, it shows that there is the kind of meaning. So the heart rate measure that shows that there is like an possibility that we learn better when we are immersed. So in short, the kind of INT, the immersive learning experience, like caused a measurable increase in arousal and stress compared to the normal condition. Another example I'll show is from Joensuu, where we built a virtual nature classroom. In this, we did not have the possibility to reflect digital content on many walls, but we had one wall, also using Epson projector in this one, and we can reflect a 4 by 2.5 meter picture. And we were also able to bring in other kind of elements from virtual reality, or not virtual, but actually real reality. So this is what the classroom looks like. We have plants, we have different kinds of seating, we have many elements of nature. So when we're doing development in our learning spaces, we try to bring in elements from nature that work as the, let's say, leading ideology that when we're doing this kind of changes. So having a look at some of the other spaces that we've we've refurnished and built is, again, you can see that an upper secondary class can look a little bit different than what we're used to. In this space, we have the possibility to split the classroom into many sections. We have different kinds of seating, and we also have the kind of, let's say, possibility to also share and show bigger pictures. Those, what I was showing, was made by ThingLink. But before we go into the ThingLink section, once again, I would like to emphasize that in those spaces and in our virtual classroom, there is also the possibility for our upper secondary students to be the creators of the kind of digital content that is being shared on the screen. So yearly we have a competition about taking pictures from nature and providing a kind of setup to the classroom that when you walk into the space, you feel like walking into the nature. So this is like important when we think about the kind of learning that we want to see in our schools, the kind of producer-based pedagogy that we have. But now, if we look at what is possible with ThingLink, the Finnish FC Lab network has cooperated with ThingLink for many years now, and I know Sarah and Epson also work with them. So this gives a possibility to do many kinds of digital content and share that in many perspectives. We can do 360 content, we can do AR, and also we can put the children to produce the kind of materials. In the video that is being shown, there are a few examples of how this kind of program can be used in also, let's say, educational setups. So it can be simulations, it can be safety things and others. So next we'll go into ThingLink, and I'll quickly show a few examples of how I can produce things in ThingLink. I'll just put that away and make this bigger. So now I have logged on to my ThingLink account, and first things I would like to see or show you is how I can do a 360 virtual learning environment. So I want to produce some new media. So I'll go to my media and I will click on create. You can create by yourself, or but there are also many libraries that you can use. And for example, many museums of the world, you can visit. But I would like to, I copied a prompt. The prompt is about, I would like to make the kind of mystical winter mountain in Lapland. I can use the enhancing of the prompt or not. Now I don't want to use the enhancements. I can choose what kind of picture I want. Well, for this, I would like to Skybox AI to create more a photoreal kind of environment. So with AI coming into our life in all sectors, it is important and great that we're able to use it, let's say, pedagogically wisely. The kind of, if we use it on a recreational level, then, we have to be aware of the kind of impact that it puts on the nature. So that's something that we also have to emphasize. But within this time, it made a 360 landscape, and we can have a look. Okay, we have the northern lights. We have the kind of mountainous views, sadly no bigger mountains in Finland, but let's say hills. We have a few animal tracks and so on. So now if I wanted to put kind of tags into this, I could start working and bringing in many kinds of media, videos, audios, and so on to this landscape. I'll finished with that. Another, let's say, quick thing I would like to show you is what we're working on now with ThingLink, is the kind of AI scenarios that, you know, how teachers can be helped in their work with the help of AI. So I'll do, let's say, energy sources and energy consumptions. So once again, I'll use AI for that. And I did a prompt that, okay, I'll take that away. So I want it to be an interactive scenario that, let's make this a little bit bigger. Educates users about different energy sources, production methods, consumption patterns, and so on. And the target language, okay, we'll have it in English. If I had materials that I would like to provide for the AI or the content to be based upon, I could drop them there. But now I'll just do with this. I want it to be a branched. So you know, we can use technologies to also make the kind of content that we are creating more immersive, that they kind of playfulness and the, let's say, the activeness of the learners are very much involved. So now it will create me a structure and some content blocks on the theme. And, you know, I can, of course, change everything and rearrange and add, let's say, visual elements and such. So this is using the Gemini 2.0 Flash AI for the producing of this, and we'll just give it a few more seconds before it finalizes. And, you know, it's also for the teachers that, okay, we can personalize the learning for the students, but we can also flip the coin the other way. That, you know, if I had the theme of energy for my students and I would provide the basic information, could we let technology, or could the students be active in personalizing the kind of learning content for them? So now we're starting to have many technologies that, you know, you can use that to produce a podcast that, okay, some might be more audio based than let's say just text based. So now it brings me the kind of rough draft of what kind of, you know, there are many. So this is the kind of 4 different paths: renewable energy, fossil fuels, consumption patterns, and it might, you know, it asks the questions and you have to be able to answer them, and then it goes back. So the producing of, let's say, learning material that can be immersive is quite easy nowadays, and ThingLink is a nice example of that.
Can I ask you a couple of questions, Sampo?
Sure.
So, well, my first question, first of all, thanks so much for showing in practice how it works. I think it was great to see it up close, such a good example. Let's start from the beginning. I had a very basic question, but do you recommend that students also have their own accounts in ThingLink? For example, when you saw us this landscape and you saw us that teachers can populate these images created by AI, do students need to have their own accounts, or is only the school/teacher?
I would suggest that because with, let's say, an account of an organization level, you're able to co-create much easier. So, you know, you can have, let's say, if I wanted to do or learn about Spain, you know, I could share them the map of Spain, and then I could divide the kind of the same landing page for the kids, and then they would, different parts of Galicia or Andalusia or whatever.
Right.
So it, for example, I work at the university, and our children are part of the university's license. So I would recommend that looking into that. Teachers can get like a free license for some time, and I'm sure that ThingLink, if you're interested in piloting, you can find the contacts for ThingLink and write them a line and saying that greetings from Sarah and Sampo and from this webinar, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to provide you with a nice pilot program for some time.
Yeah, and I'm sure that many teachers will find it very relevant as well. Is it available only in English or also in other languages? Let's say that I want to create a lesson plan or a learning scenario, as you saw, as in indeed Spanish or Finnish. Would I be able to do that, or is only English at the moment?
No, it's available in many different languages. So I didn't have. Okay, I'll just.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have many European languages in place already.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. Well, yeah, the AI advances faster than what we can even measure in a way.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Since we have an international audience, I'm sure that they will be happy to hear as well. Also because then it makes it something very relatable to their own classrooms. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also had some questions about the, if I can continue asking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also want to come back a bit to the beginning, so to say, when we were discussing immersive learning, and you saw us these two wonderful examples from schools in Finland. So I was wondering, what's your opinion here? Would you use these immersive classrooms to teach lessons that are part of the curriculum, or would you recommend using these immersive classrooms to teach extracurricular activities or classes or weeks,
Well, I'm sure Sarah shares the opinion that, we would love to see, of course, the content of the curriculum being taught in an immersive kind of way. Also taking into consideration that, it's not every lesson that you can have such a vast amount of technology amongst you, or even the use of devices that, we need to have a versatile, buffet of this kind of learning activities. So if it was just for extra curricular activities, then, because we should make the real learning like cool and interesting and amazing for the learners. Yeah. So not just the special stuff. Of course, the kind of immersive possibilities are maybe being used with, let's say, more with the learners with special needs, because you can put the hands on and you can have the wow effects maybe stronger and easier than by using traditional kind of learning setups.
Absolutely, and also that way, if you use it only for extracurricular, I think you're also limiting the impact that you can have once you set up such a classroom. Indeed, so I fully agree with you. And let's talk about ages. I'm assuming as well that it's a good practice to teach with immersive learning from also a small age. Do you have examples from schools that you start early on with immersive learning experiences?
Yeah, we do have examples, and in other countries like Italy, for example, we can see a large implementation of immersive classrooms in primary schools, right? And what Italy does is really working on the knowledge skill acquisition part. Like they do the traditional lesson, the traditional content in those immersive classrooms. But again, as Sampo said, it is to activate and motivate students. It's really not the idea right now to have a whole day in such classrooms, right? Let's see what we will see in a few years, right? But right now we can see it's starting in the way to build on the knowledge acquisition. Then we saw the examples from the Nordics, and I think it's a great example for the well-being part, for the calming landscape, which is a great example. And we see implementations in Spain, which are very interesting. A lot of customers there are focusing, or the students are a little older, so it's more secondary school. But this is just the status quo, right? It will be hit in primary school as well there. And we have many examples in the UK. And if we go to the example here, this is really about inclusivity, primary learning. I don't know if we can hear the sound now, because it's really nice to have some quotes from the teacher and the students. And in this example, you can see even the floor is interactive. Even the floor is, you can see visualization there. It's a nice example. It's,
Yeah, and it's interesting as well to see what you say is that full, almost completely immersive in the floor. So it's really nice. And as you said, I think you mentioned the topic of inclusion and diversity. And I think this is also really important to come back to diverse educational needs and students with diverse educational needs. And I think this can cater very well to them. It's a bit aligned, or it reminds me a little bit of universal design for learning, where you have this one space where everyone is learning together and it's targeted towards all learners' needs, right? So I think this fits really well within that framework of diversity and inclusion in educational settings, right?
Yeah, true. And I personally love to see how naturally students are working in those atmospheres. It's really absorbing them. They are into the topic. Every time I can see students all around the world in those spaces, it's really, they are motivated, they are stunning, they like to read, and this was one quote from one of the students here in this video as well. She said it helps her to learn better and to read faster. And again, I think if a natural atmosphere can be shown in a classroom, in a school, that's the best, right? And or bringing the moon to the school, bringing the ocean, bringing the Alps.
I was about to comment on that. It also brings things closer to the school because, of course, as a school, we can go to a local museum, for example, but we cannot go to the moon, for example, or you cannot go if you don't live near the mountains, then you cannot just maybe organize a trip in short notice, for example, but you can just bring the mountains to them, or the moon, as you're saying, or the sea, as you're commenting right now. So I think that has an incredibly added value to that. And what we see in this video as well is that this is a very specific room, right? That where you create the immersive atmosphere. So I think this also connects a bit with what you were saying of like that the idea right now is not to have a full day in an immersive classrooms. I think we also, and I think this is why very interesting to also see the classrooms in Finland, because I guess many people who are listening to us now are also reflecting and thinking, well, I cannot quite do this in my school. But like if we go back to the samples that Sampo you saw as well, that's working with what there is at the school, and we can still create an immersive learning environment within a more traditional, so to say, school infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we have done for many years is really having the children in the school, and the children has to interact with the building, with the classroom, with the technology, with the teacher, right? But if we look into Maria Montessori, she had one of her quotes is always, it's the opposite way to make learning successful. So that means the atmosphere of a learning environment has to be the right for the children, for the students, for the learning, and even for the teachers. And even technology has to follow this rule, right? We as hardware Epson manufacturer, we have to make sure it's flexible, it's easy to handle for teachers, right? And same to ThingLink, because we need great content. We need easy accessible, easy to create content for those spaces. To follow the rule, it's all about the learning needs, and the environment has to shape that. And
Right.
yeah, I think this is a great example how the future now, and it's reality in some schools already, take place and shape the skill acquisition, shape the knowledge acquisition on students' future. And this example here, it's from the UK as well, but here you can see it's a completely different setting. It's a trauma scenario, but you can see how people, for example, in the blue light sector, will be trained, right, in different aspects and in stressy situations, and this is still reality. It's a good
Yeah.
example, right? And you can see how many. Well, we talked about knowledge acquisition, skill acquisition. We talked about well-being parts, right? But it can be used for corporate learning. It can be used for lifelong learning as well. And in the good example, even in Finland, we can see schools that are very open for other organizations in the afternoon. And those spaces can be used there as well for, I don't know, trauma scenarios or other settings, right? Sitting together, having a nice conversation and a fire, and we have a firework around us or a fireplace, because we know from research, it's a nice atmosphere and it opens discussions. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very
So
interesting that you mentioned lifelong learning, because I wanted to just pick back on that, because we've just seen an example from a primary school and now from trauma situation, as you were saying, from training
yeah.
doctors and first responders. So really immersive learning, therefore, is something that can that goes hand in hand with lifelong learning, in the sense that it can be applied, is a pedagogical approach that can be applied at all parts of the educational kind of moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in this example, you can see music notes from Mozart. Well, most of the students are not super interested in classic music, right? But you can engage them. You can inspire them with, let's say, boring stuff, right? It can happen that after visiting a specific topic, that students are totally open to classical music. They know historical dates after visiting such content, such spaces, right? So it's so the engagement rate is very high for any type of learner. The retention rate, so it improves knowledge retention. I think that's clear. And about the practical skills, well, we had examples about simulation, hands-on experience as well, that can be as an additional tool. And these are just a few benefits of immersive learning, right? Just in addition to what Sampo already said, and there are a few more. Even research just started, right? So we will see a lot of more in the next couple of months and years. From my point of view, from our point of view, it's super important to have a look on the concept, because we have to think about some components that can be added as a value, or yeah, are one of the key aspects we have to make sure that are in place. So well, the main topic is always we need educational content. You saw some examples here. All these examples are European content examples. Great. It's it's for learning, it's created for learning, and this is super important. It can be used for resilience and well-being. Those parts are more and more common in Europe. Yeah, we have the hardware components, right? Epson projectors, we need the visualization. And you can think of in a strategic way, how many walls do you want to have? Is it just one wall, 2 walls, all the walls, even the floor? We have customers that are interested to have even a projection on the floor, on the roof, for many reasons, pedagogy reasons. You need, if you like to, you can add sound. If you like to, even you can add some olfactory components, right, as a next level of learning. Because from research, we know that the olfactory sensors in terms of learning has great impact in the results at the end. So there are a few nice concepts we can play here to get better results, to feel the learners more welcomed or inspired. What are the parts of methods, right? We have active learning, we have differentiated instruction, we have flipped classroom situation, assistive learning, gamification components. If you want to have interactive components on the walls, right, which is a technology part, but you can add this anyway. And you have those added values, stimulating environments. I think the examples we shared, you can feel it. We have realistic scenarios we can play. We have multimedia, multisensory interactions and materials, modern technology, sensory experience. So there is a bunch of values we can add. And if we focus in the middle of the key objectives, well, we have expanding learning opportunities, individualized, personalized learning, and in addition, the collaboration, right? So this is all, a differentiator to the classes. And I think if it's important to see students and teachers' faces, right? To interact, to start conversations, and to shape critical thinking as well. Supporting cognitive skills. So the list is long, the list will be longer in the next couple of months, I expect, with more research in place. So the conclusion. What is the conclusion of the future of immersive spaces? Well, we have the multisensory learning, contextual and collaborative atmosphere, like we mentioned. We have expanding applications, and there are challenges and opportunities as well. So if we think about those, for example, we have we require investments. That's for sure. It's a starting point of a new concept in terms of learning, which is natural, but it has the potential to democratize access through public infrastructure and AI-powered content creation. And the last point, I think it's a superpower. It will be a superpower for learning in Europe. And in some countries, we already see the positive benefit out of it for learning and even for teachers, right? Like the examples we shared in the Nordics, even especially in Finland, like Italy, with a dedicated funding, what they had in place for the primary school. Starting in many other countries, and the big effort what happened in the UK. So a lot of rumor there, very exciting, and I'm really looking forward to the next evaluations here, and even in trade shows we can see more of those implementations. Yeah, it's great.
And coming to the end, if you want some additional resources, I'm sure you can find a lot. Here are just a few mentioned. But if you're interested in talking more and closely to us, you can find the contact information from there. And as Eugenia mentioned, that this was a recap of an event from March. So very happy that you've been listening to us once again.
Thank you so much, Sampo. Sarah, it's been fantastic to discuss this topic with you, and also to have a chance to chat a bit about in practice what is immersive learning. And for me personally, it's been very interesting to just take what to me was quite abstract idea and concept, and then also bring it to reality, and how in practice teachers and the people who are listening to us specifically can make it a reality in their own teaching and learning practice. So thank you so much for those very practical examples, and also for joining us today. And to all of you who are listening and watching this recording, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that this has been useful to your teaching and learning practice. We hope that this has made you feel intrigued about immersive learning and the incredible potential that immersive learning has. I'll pick something that Sarah just said right now, which is that, in 2 months, we expect this to grow even more, and in 4 months, even more. And so this is a very exciting moment to kind of learn more about immersive learning, as it's already there, so to say, but it's also something that has exponential growth and that will continue to grow and and as we saw, has incredible benefits for the learning process of students. And so, Sarah, you pick some of the comments that students were making, but I'm sure that we could hear that through any student that joins an immersive learning classroom. So thank you very much, and stay tuned to other Future Classroom Lab webinar sessions recordings, and follow us on social media. Sampo, Sarah, once again, thank you very much. And just a reminder, today's webinar was in partnership with Epson, one of our partners at the Future Classroom Lab.